Вау! 5 самоделок, которые должны быть у каждого мужика. Жаль, что не знал о них раньше. Этот инструмент должен быть у каждого. 5 гениальных самоделок, которые ты должен увидеть. Идея для самоделок. 5 крутых самоделок. 5 нереально крутых самоделок. 40 нереально крутых самоделок. 5 нереально крутых. Нашу жизнь. Нереально.
Fucking DIY bastards.
Attention, attention, now you will see tons of dark humor. That's why we highly recommend dickheads and dumbass to get their fucking asses off their fucking idiots' lanterns. And don't tell me that I didn't warn you. Enjoy the show.
Hi guys. Today we are going to make and test for the most useless DIY tools. These tools should be in the toolkit of every DIY druggie. So, let's start. If you can't weld 2 tubes toe to toe evenly, then you will need the next device. Well, let's try to make the device. It's apparently very useful. I beg your pardon, my dear viewer, but I'm going to change a bit the process of production, because I can't stand, and frankly speaking, I hate to weld using stick welding. That's why we are going to use semi-automatic welding. Well, the main part of that masterpiece is ready. The only thing we need to do is to weld a chain. My chain is a bit different. I didn't find an appropriate one, but I think it will not affect the functionality of our device. That's why right now we are going to cut the chain in two, and then we need to find 2 bolts of the required diameter. Where should that fucking chain be welded to? The fucking instruction doesn't specify. Great. In my humble opinion, I think that the device is intended to be made for a specific tube diameter. That's why right now we are going to make that fucking device for that diameter of the tube. Well, I guess we need to prepare 2 parts that we are going to weld. And that task is easy peasy. Let's chamfer the welding edges. For the next step, to complete that fucking device, we need to find 2 bolt screws or some other shit like that. And according to the instruction, we need to weld that bolts to our device, taking into account the holes of the chain. In other words, we need to assemble that device, a tube, a chain, and then to weld a bolt somewhere... well, in some place. Even I don't know where. Well, I guess it should be like that. Now let's cut the excess length of the bolts, screws or some other shit. Now it's time to test. For the test purposes and critical evaluation, I have grouped our device in the vise to test how firmly it fastens the tubes before welding. With a rigid construction, you can weld the tubes like this or that, well, as you wish. For illustration, I'd like to show you that our device fastens the tubes quite firmly. The tubes are locked and the chain is taut. And that is how firmly our device fastens the two welding parts. And all that problems arise under the condition that the device is made for that particular tube diameter. But here we have a logical question, since we have spared our time making that shit. Can that device be used for other tube diameters? 42mm tube, it doesn't clasp. And what if we try to clasp on the previous chain link? Then the device and the tube are a bit loose. Let's take another tube. Well, it's locked, but it's also a bit loose. What can I say? It is a very useful device. It makes life incredibly easy. If you need to weld two tubes toe to toe evenly, the only thing you need is steady hands. Let's take our tubes, a piece of flat material, for example L-bar, a shape tube or some other bullshit. Put the tubes toe to toe, take a welding machine, and holding the tube, stack it. And after that technically impossible task, the only thing we need to do is to clean up the weld. Holy crap, it's right, it's impossible! And we even didn't use a specialized device. Something is wrong, for sure. But if someone takes drugs instead of taking a course of physics, that person can make even worse fucked up thing. Let's watch. Maestro. Music. Fucked up one. Well, honestly, I don't even know where to use that bullshit. What is force vector? That dragon knows nothing about. So, let's have a try to make the device. This one is good, that's also good, that's also, that's quite good, that's fucking good, it doesn't fit. I will repay you, I swear. I have done it. Fucking inventor bastard. And now let me explain in a simple language. Right force vector, wrong force vector. And to check it is quite easy. Let's take a nut, some combination pliers, and now using the combination pliers, tighten the nut to a maximum possible torque. And now let's take our gorgeous tool and try to unscrew that same nut. The only question is how. It's a very useful invention, particularly when at the worst possible moment it does like this. And there is one more little problem about the device. To use that combination pliers, you need another combination pliers, preferably sound one. Because you need to screw and unscrew the nuts of the device, or at least an appropriate range. Particularly it pisses me off when that device does like this at the worst fucking possible moment. just great, but it should be noted that this device has one very important advantage. Since I'm a digit head, my hands are always dirty, and I am used to keep all my tools clean, including the tool that my wife values very much. While trying to keep the precious tool clean using traditional tools of my toolkit, in other words taking a lead, every time my right boot turns out to be wet. But now I have that device, and it helps me to use my precious tool more precisely. If you are a digit head, make the tool for yourself and keep your precious tool clean. The next invention will help you when you don't have a rivet gun, but you have rivets that should be used as intended. So, let's see. Hold on, wait a second, a short break, and now our maestro will show us a life hack, how to turn low carbon steel into medium carbon. Now soft steel is stronger than usually, for sure. Well, we should assume that for that DIY we will need a little piece of tube. And now let's move on to a magic process of welding using semi-automatic welding machine. Now to make a handle we need to find some shit, something appropriate. We are not going to practice tempering because we are not fucking idiots, and for our experiment low carbon steel is strong enough. It's time to test our DIY tool in live situation. Well, I could find nothing better than 2 metal sheets, 2mm thickness. Now we are to drill 2 holes. One we rivet using a sound rivet gun, and the other one using our Uber tool. Let's take a rivet as specified in the instruction. We need to push it through the hole. Where is that fucking hole? Ah, here it is. Then bend the rivet like this. Hold on, not so fast. Bend like this, a bit more, push it through the hole, and then twist it. Frankly speaking, it's complete bullshit. In my humble opinion, we are fucked over. The main criterion of a rivet is collapsibility. Thanks to collapsibility, a rivet fastens the parts. That's why. To clearly demonstrate, let's take a sound rivet gun and try to rivet the 2 parts. That's how a sound rivet should look like. And the funniest thing is, that same Uber tool has been busted by the man who invented the miraculous combination pliers from the previous video. You get it. The fourth and the last invention in our today's video that is as useful as the 3 previous. Let's go. Oh yeah, our favorite low carbon steel being used as a punch. But I have to admit, comparing to the previous DIY idiots, that DIY master has one of the most creative approaches to making impressive bullshit. Look at the holes in the L-bar, look at the enormous expression in making a handle for adjusting the punch. Well, and we are going to come down to earth from the clouds and try to recreate the success of that creative idiot. Let's go. I beg your pardon in advance, because in my video you won't see that same expression. We are interested in the raunchiest thing of every such DIY, and that's functionality. And we will test it right now. The instruction specifies that we should use a bolt made of low-carbon steel as a punch. I must admit, it is the most difficult DIY device to fuck ourselves in our today's video about top 4 DIY devices. Now it's time to test how it works. And frankly speaking, guys, I worked my ass off watching that video carefully, but I couldn't figure out how that fucking device does move back and forth and helps to make nice and even marking around the tube. Well, let's take our tube, adjust the punch. I guess something like that. Something is wrong. The marking is uneven. I hope you can see that. And the punch became dull just after one cut. But it's not surprising, because low-carbon steel is one of the softest steels and it's the worst choice for a punch. But let's try one more time. Frankly speaking, I haven't the slightest idea how that piece of bullshit can be used to make nice and even marking to cut a tube. In conclusion, I would like to say that almost all DIY devices in our today's video are a useless and non-functional piece of bullshit, just like DIY trash from the previous video. Except for one device that I like very much. Send us your DIY shit in comments, and we will test it. See you in the next videos.